The only difference between Corey and my students is that my students know how not to break. I mean, Corey went with it pretty good. He went with it pretty good, so he's not going to be hurt. But the plan is that when I take force, and I throw it into a certain area, you've got to deal with that force. So when he's here, and I draw, what I wasn't doing with Corey is I wasn't dealing with his balance very much. I wasn't taking his weight. What I want to do is I want to compound his force with also the use of his weight. So when this is here, I'm going to grab his weight, bring it up. Does that make sense? So here, it's not just force, but also weight. Here, it's just the same force that I was doing with Corey. The difference is that I'm streamlining it into his spine. Whereas with Corey, I'm just kind of coming up here, moving a little bit. When I want to, what everyone's capable of doing is taking my body, aligning it behind his body, and expressing my body force into his. Does that make sense? It's pretty neat. So joint locks, pressure points, nerve points, we do it all. To say we do it all is pretty difficult, but we do quite a bit of it. Here's an interesting thing. There are different systems in the body, and if you overwhelm those systems, like there's the lymphatic system, there's the central nervous system, if you overwhelm those systems, what the body will do is it'll start turning off things that are not vital. So, if there's a whole rush of an activity in the body, there's a whole rush, like you take a nerve center, a nerve cluster in the body, and you light it up, and put the person in a lot of pain. And then you squeeze their blood so that less blood is flowing to the brain. And then maybe you attack an organ. The body's going to go, whoa, there's too much going on. There's way too much going on. I've got to turn some stuff off. So what it'll do is it'll say, you don't need to see, you don't need to be conscious, you don't need, and it'll just start turning things off. You don't need to hear, you don't need to smell, you don't need to taste, and you'll get knocked out. So I'll show you that.
Oh boy.
So that's like a few strike. And then strike. And that is a very strange thing, but what that is, you okay? What that is, and we're going to be nice with that. But what that is that's an overwhelming of the system. There's just too much going on. Way too much going on. So the body's like, I can't take all this. And it gets knocked out. Now, if I wanted to do that as a boxer, do you know how many times I'd have to hit that guy? And I'd be in a lot of trouble with the police. Because that guy's going to be mangled. His face is going to be mangled. But once we leave tonight, there's not going to be any marks on them. So one of the benefits is that the art is kind of kind. It's kind of nice. As brutal as it is, I'm not hurting anybody. You know, I can take them out without breaking their limbs or pummeling their face or throwing a chair at them or what have you, if that makes sense. Let's see some other aspects.
Corey, would you like to try that one?
I'm good. That is a very strange feeling. I truly suggest it. It's interesting. We don't just do that. We do it all. What a strange question. All right. What a strange question. Now, what other martial artists do is they'll do things like they'll smother it a little bit, just try to smother it, or what they'll do is they'll choke a person. What we do is something called strangulation, and the plan is to steal the blood from the brain. With that motion, you get that person unconscious. Quick. His force or his connection, his power. I don't want to deal with any of that. body turns itself off, it'll turn itself back on. The longer you strangle a person for, the longer they'll be out. Make a sit for a second. If you could tell them what you experienced, what was it like?
Couldn't breathe and slowly went black and fell asleep. I felt my fingers, hands get a little warm. That's it. Nothing else.
Yeah. The first time I got strangled and put out, I woke up and I was wondering what all these people were doing in my bedroom. Because I thought I was awake, I thought it was like morning time. And I was like, what's everybody doing? Wait, I'm not in my bedroom. It was a very, very strange feeling. There's nothing like it. What's really interesting is afterwards, the endorphins kick in and you get like $1 million. That's a very strange thing. But do you feel really alive?
Ready to go.
It's a very strange thing. So what's interesting is as brutal as our art is, I mean, we do bone breaking, we do limb destruction, we do, we toss people upside down, we lock them all sorts of ways, pressure points, nerve points. We're actually very kind in a sense, because we don't need to. We train to do all of those things, but we don't need to do any of them. We could easily touch a person and they'll give up. So if he wanted to damage me, as he's coming in, I can easily just touch him here. Now this spot on the body, Wayne's a funny guy because he really doesn't mind pain. He's got an incredible pain tolerance. But this spot on the body is going to immobilize a person where they can't do anything. You'll be able to walk them anywhere and do anything you want with them. Show me some side views. So Feld Sensei's been a student of mine for 11 years, and a little over 11 years. What he's going to be showing is unarmed arresting techniques. So it's not all about limb destruction and bone breaking. It's also about straining and locking. So that you can take them to the police, you can take them out of your house, you can do whatever you want with them. You can lead them naked. Whether the person's armed with a knife or whether they're armed with a gun, there's a really old saying in our art, and that is, whether the enemy knows it or not, we're working together to defeat him. It's also translated as we're working together to kill him. So, view of the head. So here, when we see this motion, it's not about fighting the exact action at all. It's about retrieving the weapon so that it can be, we can utilize it or use it. And we back it. Utilizing